Hey, it's the international poppy Franco Varga, and you're now listening to Stu's Wrestling Podcast, the biggest podcast ever.
You're listening to Stu's Wrestling Podcast. It's time. Your host, Stu Palmer.
Welcome back, my listeners and viewers, and this is episode 131 of Stu's Wrestling Podcast, and my guest today comes from Virginia in the good old US of A. It's up-and-coming talent, Jake Hollister. Jake started out in the business at the age of 15. We get to hear about being under the mentorship, the tutelage of two-time guest on SWP, Franco Varga, all the advice that he's had from Franco, which has been so invaluable to him up to this point in his early wrestling career. He is the leader of the emo club. He's incorporated emo into his style, into his gear, and he's very heavily influenced by Panic at the Disco, who he's seen recently on tour. So yeah, just great to hear about that. And also horror movies as well, how that's influenced his character, the way he is, his attire. Just great getting a background into how he's cultivated his character up to now. Jake has been involved with first time ever events. He's been on every show so far. It was amazing to hear about the tour to the UK as well. They did first time ever over here in the UK last year. He had a great time with Franco and he had great stuff to say about the UK. He took on Jody Fleisch as well, so some really good stuff about getting in the ring with a legend of British wrestling and European wrestling and world wrestling, Jody Fleisch. He had some great experiences with him, and you'll get to hear about all this and more today with the leader of the emo club. It is Mr. Jake Hollister, all the way from Virginia in the good old US of A. Enjoy. My guest today, all the way from Virginia in the good old US of A. It is pro wrestler, independent pro wrestler, Jake Hollister on Stu's Wrestling Podcast today. How are we, Jake?
Chilling, bro. How are you?
All good, all good. It's nice and early there, so I appreciate you coming on so early onto the show.
Oh, it's fine. Actually, if anyone knows me, they know I'm not a morning person. So being up this early, it's for a good cause, and being on your podcast was definitely the right choice of waking up.
Thank you, man. Now, you've been wrestling since the age of 15, training and all that. How's it been? How's it been under the learning tree as such? I know you're very close with Franco Varga, who's been a guest on this show twice. So yeah, just your start in wrestling, learning the trade, man. I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah, man. Kind of almost how most people started. I found a local school at the age of 15 called Southside Pro Wrestling here in Virginia Beach. Started learning under a guy named Mark Myers, and kind of as time went on, they actually sold the school. So I kind of had to learn on the road in a sense, picking up guys like Franco Varga, who's been teaching me stuff that you won't find in wrestling schools that they should be teaching, like actual locker room etiquette, how to get yourself booked, and just stuff that I was never taught as a young kid. And I always find myself evolving with him. So definitely I think I've been on the road with Franco for almost 4 years. So yeah. It's definitely been a journey.
It's a good chunk of time, that as well, isn't it? And I know how well respected Franco is, not just in the US of A, because of course you came over here to the UK for a tour, didn't you, last year with him? So yeah,
yes.
Franco is literally worldwide, isn't he?
Yes, he is the international wrestling star, I believe, is on one of his t-shirts. He is the late Queen's favorite wrestler. Forever will go down in history as her favorite wrestler. So definitely a man respected around the world.
How was it, obviously training in the early portion? Did you find it easy learning the stuff in ring? Or how was it for you, and developing a move set and stuff of that nature?
So I was always an athlete growing up, whether it was us playing baseball, lacrosse, basketball. So all the athletic abilities came natural to me. and developing. Actually, I guess my moveset is constantly evolving still. Like, I'm finding stuff that I do now that I've never done 4 years ago, and stuff I did 5 years ago I don't do now. So it's definitely evolving, and kind of like everything in the world, you have to keep up with wrestling, right?
I get you, man. Yeah.
We're in almost guys my size are hitting harder, flying across the ring while maintaining the tell story.
Where was your first match then? Where were you for that? How that came about? I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah, so my first ever match was August of 2016. I was 18 years old, and it was actually in a small hole-in-the-wall promotion here in Norfolk, Virginia, actually, called HCW. It was against one of the guys from my school that helped train me, named Sterling Williams. He was like a smaller guy, so I kind of took to him. Like, oh, he's been doing it longer than me, and he's small, so he must know something. But yeah, no, definitely kicked the living out. Can I curse on the show?
You can curse, mate. Fire away. I'll put an explicit thing on the content on the podcast thing. It's fine. You can swear, man. You are free to swear.
Literally kicked the shit out of my back. Kind of the welcome to wrestling, kid. Ever since then, it's just been on the up and up.
How did that feel taking that the first time?
Oh, definitely like a little shock factor. Had the little pins and needles go down my arm. Almost like, someone just kicked the living shit out of you.
I was going to ask as well, obviously developing your character. Now, I know you love emo music. You're the leader of the emo side. So, yeah, how did that come about? And, yeah, what did you take away from the emo, the genre of emo, into your wrestling?
So, for those who don't know, the whole emo club, all that has been developed within the last year. Before that, I was the pretty boy professional wrestling. The whole emo side and the horror movie side, that's literally who I am outside the ring. And I've learned a lot of people were connecting more to me with everything I love outside of wrestling. So I'm like, why don't I just blend the two worlds together? And it's honestly one of the best things I've ever done, because for those who don't know, I do have a online portion of merchandise on Hot Topics website. And the amount of people that have come up to me who relate to me how I related to a lot of bands in the emo scene is like a dream come true. So it's just like, I get to be who I am without having to put on like a different face, and get to do what I love to do.
I suppose, like, obviously, if it comes naturally to you, as you say, the audience, the fans are going to gravitate, aren't they, as well, as you alluded to?
Exactly. Because I don't know if anyone else can do this, but I can very well pick up when someone's not being 100% natural about themselves. It's just like, all right, why do I care about them? Okay. Versus someone who's being generally them, and it gives you that emotional connection, like, oh my God, I can relate to them.
Who was some of your favorite bands within the emo genre? I'd like to ask that as well, man. That'd be good.
So the top 5 is definitely Panic at the Disco. I actually just saw them in concert the day after Franco saw them. No, I did not copy him. I gotta get that record straight. Ice Nine Kills, Motionless in White, Sleeping with Sirens, Asking Alexandra, Falling in Reverse, and like I can go on for hours and hours talking about bands. So we're just going to kind of cap it there.
that could be a whole different show in itself, Jake. It could. Absolutely, absolutely, man. Yeah, soon. I tell you what, there's one band from years ago. The emo alternative rock, definitely, yeah. A band that were underrated, Letter Kills. That was one of my one of my favorite albums. But, you know, they were signed to Island Records. I think it's part of Def Jam, is it? But they should have been bigger than they were, you know. They were on like the Vans Warped Tour compilations and stuff like that. But that album was amazing. Absolutely amazing. 2004, Jake. I'm aging myself a little bit there.
As soon as we're done with here, I'm actually going to go ahead and look them up and add them to my playlist.
It's a solid... The album they did was solid. Every track. Not a lot of albums I can listen to, but I like every single track. But yeah, that's a whole different topic. Because we're on here to talk about your career and how it's been going on. But yeah, I want to ask about the UK tour. How you know that was as an experience for you, and you've also wrestled Jody Fleisch, who was a previous guest on this show. Jody Fleisch, I loved him growing up. He was one of my favourites. He really was. So yeah, the UK tour, man. How was that, and how it differed to being in the US? And you know, you're on the road a lot in the US. How was it different? And the match with Jody as well. Please,
I'm gonna say I absolutely missed the UK. I actually been talking to Franco about when are we coming back? So definitely keep your eye out for something in the near future. But it was such an amazing journey. Like, I know we landed in Heathrow in London, and then the first night, just experiencing London nightlife, it was like a whole new world to me. The match itself with Jody, I learned so much like under him. Apparently, it's one of the hardest matches to get, especially for someone it's his first tour. So definitely felt a little more pressure than normal. But like as soon as the bell rang, like him and I just had a lot of fun and everything just came natural to us. I definitely learned a lot from him. And yeah, that's definitely a match I would love to run back at some point. I know he's currently injured, I believe, with an ankle or knee injury.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
So definitely wish him the best. You know, well, we're sending you love and positive vibe, Jody. But yeah, no, the UK tour was super fun, super exhausting because it was literally wake up, travel, wrestle, pub, wake up, travel, wrestle, pub for 5 days straight. But I wouldn't have like traded that in the world.
How many beers, how many alcoholic drinks are you having? Did it get messy? Over here, people like to get messy in the pubs.
Let's just say I kept up with Franco, and who has seen Franco, he's not a small guy.
No.
He's got about 100 and something pounds on me, so definitely more than I can count. Soberly.
How I was going to ask, obviously London, how did you find it in terms of, you know, it's very fast paced down there. I'm up on the coast in Wales, so I'm about 4 or 5 hours away from London. But yeah, some other stuff about London that you took away as a place, as a city.
So I'm originally from New York, so I'm used to the fast-paced New York City lifestyle. People are a lot nicer in London than in New York. I would say that for sure. So it was definitely having Franco there helped because he's been over there, I was thinking 3 times prior to me. So definitely having him and just exploring the city, it felt like a warm welcome New York. Ironically as that sounds.
How about the food, man? What did what were you eating that was different to obviously what you have over there?
So this isn't different than what we have over here, but Franco and I actually stumbled upon a small little place called Chicken Joint. And I think it was like 12 o'clock in the morning, November, so you know it's cold, and eating hot chicken tenders and chips. Oh man. And then just authentic pub food, authentic fish and chips. Just experiencing what you guys had versus what we had. American food's a lot more greasier. I would say that for sure. One thing we did do was a McDonald's comparison. because I think McDonald's is a globally known fast food chain. So it's probably one of the easiest comparisons. And your guys' chicken nuggets were like actual chicken. And that caught me off guard. It wasn't processed. It wasn't like super greasy. I wasn't like hating myself afterwards. So definitely loved the food over there a little bit more than over here.
Jake, did you come up? You came up into the north of England on that tour as well, didn't you? That's not too far away from where I am, you see. So, coming out the hustle and bustle of London, the way it is. How was it up north? How did you find it up the north of England?
So most of that tour was, let's see, we can actually go city by city. Night one was Bolton.
Yes.
Bolton was smaller than I thought. Like everything was in walking distance, if that. Super like active nightlife. Definitely a place I would love to go back. And we went for Bolton Town Wrestling. Night two was PCW presents First Time Ever. So we're out in Preston. Preston's nightlife was definitely a little bit more wild. Everyone up there definitely loved shutting pubs down. Because I think we had a 5 o'clock bus and people were still drinking. It was just like, what? And then the Sunday date was Charity Pro Wrestling in Southampton. And that was kind of a more mellow night for us. So definitely went from like a young crowd in Bolton to an older, maybe like mid-20s, early 30 crowd to Preston to like your family-oriented Southampton crowd. Definitely saw a wide variety of culture changes just in those cities alone.
It's mad, isn't it? Because compared to America, the size of America, we're small, man, over here, but there's a lot, like you said, there's a lot of differences from towns and cities. There is the pace of it, obviously, as we've said. I think people up in the north are a bit more easygoing as well. That's one thing I would take away from it. But man, the fact that you up and down the country in them 5 days as well, you did a lot, didn't you?
Yes, lots of buses, trains. One thing I am a little grateful for was the fact that we didn't have to drive, but it was definitely one of the best ways to see the whole country that we did get to see. Super beautiful scenery,
Amazing.
Like countryside and all that. It was definitely an experience I want to go experience again.
I'm glad you enjoyed it, man. It's nice to hear that you liked it over here, man. Amazing. Now, your character is very much influenced by horror films. As you sent me some information, didn't you? So yeah, how about that, man? And developing that into your psyche, your gimmick. The way you wrestle. What films influenced you the most in the horror genre with the character?
So it all started with Beetlejuice. I grew up watching Beetlejuice and Tim Burton movies. And when I was talking to my gear guy, I was like, all right, what's something we can do that's a little bit different versus what everyone's doing right now? And we talked about horror movies. And it was like, oh, can you do this? And he was like, I got you. So from Beetlejuice, we moved to Freddy Krueger because the first horror movie I guess I've technically seen was Freddy versus Jason back when I was like 7 years old. So I definitely pay homage to Wes Craven, Robert Englund, all those guys. The latest gear was Pennywise from It with the raincoat for Georgie. So like I said, man, it's literally just me. You can ask any of my friends outside of wrestling that know me. I'm the person who will fall asleep to a horror movie and like sleep perfectly fine. It's very rare that I'm not like watching something spooky or horror related. It's literally just who I am.
That's cool, man. No, that's cool that you've done that. You've incorporated that into your wrestling. Amazing, amazing. Now, Jake, I know you've wrestled guys, you know, Colby Carino, highly regarded, of course, Leo Ruffin as well. But yeah, obviously getting in there with them two guys firstly, and then after that, I'd like to know who you'd like to get in with, like a dream scenario, a dream match that you'd love to have, you know, going forward in your career.
I got you. So actually, it's coming up in December for first time ever, Illinois. And straight in Illinois, it's Jake Hollister versus Myron Reed.
Amazing.
That is a matchup that's been in my ear, talked about, an idea that I loved for a little over a year now. And we're finally getting to make it happen.
That's amazing. Another guest who's been on this show about a year or two ago, man. Yeah, there's links there with this show.
But I think from the first time him and I shared a locker room, that's when the chatter started of Hollister versus Reed. So definitely excited for that. I'm definitely about to change my workout routine a little bit more, get a little bit more cardio based, step away from the powerlifting and the weights. And definitely make sure I'm giving him everything I have, because that's a match that a lot of people are excited to see. And the poster dropped yesterday and my DMs got flooded.
I came across it yesterday because it's been posted. Yeah, the flyer, man. Hammerstone's on the show as well, which is amazing. What a talent he is.
That's our main event, Franco Varga versus Hammerstone.
That'll be top draw, that will. Amazing.
That's another match that has been in the wins, as people say, for a while. That whole card should be stacked from opening bell to the last bell. And for those who can't be there in person, definitely check out Global Fight Pass, and I believe it will be streamed on Fight TV.
Big. It's gonna do big numbers, isn't it? You know, with Fight TV involved, which is amazing. It's great for you guys. More eyes on you guys at the event, isn't it?
Yes. Over there, you guys have Power Forward. Am I correct?
It's not John's still doing stuff, but as a streaming service, it isn't anymore. But he was at Clash at the Castle in Cardiff, you know, about a month ago. So he was interviewing all the guys and gals like Rhea Ripley and all that. So John is doing press and doing stuff, but I think it was with Sportskeeda Wrestling. I think that's who he's affiliated with now. But they did so well for the UK scene with Powered 4 when it was around.
Yeah, I remember when I think it was first time ever 2 or 3 we got streamed over there for you guys, and that was big for us. And that was right before the UK tour that I went on.
They did a lot. John and Rich did a lot for me as well. I'm forever grateful. You know, they were a great support to me as well, Jake. You know, when I was doing the podcast.
Yeah, it's definitely good having those bigger outlets supporting everybody without being a dick about it. Because you'll get guys that are either making waves, a name for themselves, and then they forget to give back to the people who are trying to be there.
There again, man. It like you said earlier, it's etiquette. It's your etiquette as much as what you're doing in the ring and all that, and your character and that. I should say, paying it back and the respect, isn't it, for the business and all facets of the business.
Yes, and if that's doing podcasts, doing surprising a kid on his birthday, just anything anybody can do. There's so much more than just the wrestling that people are forgetting about.
Do you see that? Do you see that a lot, Jake, with people not paying it back?
In a sense, is in my area, yeah. That's why I'm based in Virginia, but you don't see me wrestle in Virginia often. It's not shots to anyone. There's
no, of course not.
No heat to anyone. It's just I know where I want to be, and guys like Franco and I share the same goal-minded So surround yourself by people who you want to be in the future with, kind of deal.
Absolutely, man. You can just tell with you the respect, and that's number one. And you've got to do what's right for you as well in the same token. And if they're not paying it back in Virginia, you're getting your bookings. You're all over the country, aren't you? So no, more power to you. And that's cool. The respect you've got for wrestling, man. That's amazing.
Yeah, I've loved this business since I was 6 years old. Watching guys like Shawn Michaels, standard guy that you probably hear a lot, but definitely without wrestling, I would have not been the person I am today. So anything I can do to give back, I'm going to find a way to do it.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, that was going to be one of my questions, actually. You've alluded to Shawn Michaels there. It influences, when you were growing up watching it as well as Shawn Michaels, maybe some matches as well that really, got you into it and got your juices flowing, wanting to be in the business, should I say?
So the first ever SmackDown I ever watched, it was actually when John Cena rap battled The Big Show. Seeing those guys and then seeing The Undertaker, I was just like, what is this? Like little 6-year-old eyes just lit up, like big smiles. And ever since then, I was hooked. Then as I got older, DVDs of guys before I started watching. So you got the Attitude Era. Then I discovered WCW, which led me to Eddie Guerrero, Rey Mysterio, like the actual true cruiserweights, before how big it is now. Because back in the day, it was all guys, the 6'2", 200+ pound, larger than life athletes. And then you had WCW, who was putting on people my size. And I was just like, I can do this. And like I said, as soon as I turned 15, I found that school and haven't looked back.
What about other matches? Obviously, you've alluded to Eddie and Ray, Halloween Havoc 1997. What a match. Just timeless. It'll never age. Will it? They were just ahead of their time. It was different. All the stuff they were doing, man, in that match. But yeah, some more matches, Jake, that you really, stick out. I know that could be quite hard and it's a very broad question because I'm sure you could tell me hundreds of matches.
You got your Shawn versus Undertaker 1 and 2 that stick out. There's been a lot. Anything Eddie and Chris Benoit. Yeah, that's a name that you don't hear much talked about. But definitely anything they did in the ring together was definitely magic. So pretty much from 2006 to around 2008 is like the era where I grew up in wrestling.
Good. It was a good time, man. I was in attendance for Shawn and Taker too. Two different matches. In some respects, I wish I was there at 25. I was meant to go to Houston, but it didn't happen. But I was in attendance for Taker Michaels too in Phoenix. It was unreal. It was unreal being there in person, man. What a match.
Yeah, like that's one of those matches I can just turn on any time of day, no contest, just like, okay, I can sit down, watch this, and then go on with my day.
What about tag matches, man? Is there anything tag teams as well? Again, it's a broad question. We could talk about this all day long, man. It just opens up a chasm, opens up like a cave, doesn't it, of matches for you. But yeah, some of the tag teams and matches that stick out for you, man.
So definitely a big DX guy. Definitely grew up on DX. Anything Shawn and Triple H did together, their whole feud with the McMahons was hysterical and such a classic. Definitely a core memory. Actually, Cena and Michaels, that unlocks a little thing in my head. Tag teams, let's see. Actually, Brian Kendrick and Paul London. Yeah. Another two small guys ahead of their time.
and they had the belts for so long, you know, on SmackDown. They had a long run with them tag belts, didn't they? To be fair to him, probably overlooked by fans, you know, just how good they were, and that was a significant time, especially for SmackDown, when you look at what guys were in the company.
Yeah, and like those guys, again, another example of smaller guys doing what I want to do. So definitely took to them, and I would actually add both of those guys to the dream list of matches. Either singles, or if I have to go find a partner, tag, whatever the case may be, definitely adding those two guys on that list.
Amazing. No, cool, man. Nice. It was nice to hear Kendrick and London being brought up, because when I ask questions, you know, a lot of the time it's the same people. That was a nice touch, man, for you to bring them up. I'd like to ask you as well, what other shows have you got coming up? Obviously, we know about First Time Ever in Chicago in Illinois in December, but yes, shows that are coming up in the next couple of months leading into that show.
The next couple of months are definitely a rebuild for me in the gym wise. So whenever I have big matches or bigger matches coming up, I kind of take the month, workout, study film, train in a ring, like make sure I'm at 110% that I can be, because this is wrestling. This ain't ballet. Shit could happen. I definitely want to show out for this match. But after First Time Ever Illinois, we have On Tap Wrestling in January to be announced. Location and matches will be announced here shortly. On Tap's a new thing that the people at Global Fight Pass has come up with, and it's incorporating family fun wrestling with the bar scene. So come enjoy a family fun show while having a drink.
It's a good concept, isn't it? That the family can come to that, you know, in a more adult setting with the alcohol. But no, that's cool that they've merged that together.
Yeah, because nowadays you see like bar shows and people automatically think, oh, it's going to be deathmatch wrestling or like cursing, not family friendly. It's like, why don't we like be the family friendly bar show?
It's cool, man. No. I'm glad you're doing different shows and different venues, and cool. It's cool, man. It's very, very cool. Now, before we go, obviously, to plug your social media where the fans, the viewers, the listeners of this show can find Jake Hollister. That'd be great in closing.
On Twitter, you can find me at Pretty Jake H. On Instagram, I'm at oh wow, I can't talk. This is why I don't do mornings, too. On Instagram, I am the Jake Hollister. And on Facebook, just type in Jake Hollister and you'll see my pretty little face.
Amazing. My guest today, all the way from Virginia in the good old US of A, is independent wrestling star. It's Mr. Jake Hollister. And just an absolute blast having you on, man. I've loved it. And also, you know, into the future, I will get you back on, because I know there's going to be loads of shows that you're going to be doing. So we will have you back on for the, you know, your latest stuff as it happens into 2023 as well, man. It's been a blast having you on. Thank you so much.
It's been a blast, man.
A big thank you there to Jake Hollister. And as you heard, First Time Ever Illinois, which has been announced over the past week, and it is on December 3rd on Fight TV and Global Fight Pass as well. And he'll take on a former guest of this show, former MLW middleweight champion Myron Reed. What a match that is going to be. It's going to be amazing. And it was just great hearing a portion of Jake's story. He's done so much in pro wrestling, and it was lovely. It was lovely having him on. I will see you all very, very soon for episode 132 of Stu's Wrestling Podcast. And thanks once again for listening and viewing the show. Take care, all the best, and God bless.